for sticking around to the end. I appreciate it. I decided to conduct my thesis research on unveiling greenwashing techniques on corporate social media. So first and foremost, I want to lay foundation for you and give context and background information into what greenwashing actually is. So the Natural Resources Defense Council defines greenwashing as the act of making false or misleading statements about the environmental benefits of a product or practice. This is something that you've probably commonly seen while scrolling online, walking around in the store, when you see that a company releases a sustainable version of their product in like an earth tone colorway, and there's no extra benefits to it. In 1986, Jay Westervelt coins the term greenwashing in an essay titled Our Common Future, in which he criticizes the hotel industry's false promotion of reusing towels as an environmental strategy when really it was just a cost-saving measure. This problem culminates in 1988 with the depletion of the ozone layer, and climate scientists really pushed sustainability to the forefront of political discourse and lawmaking. In order to establish the existence and the persistence of greenwashed media, I needed to analyze pre-established literature on the topic to find a gap in the research that I felt I could fill. In doing so, I was able to identify some key concepts that provided me more context. The Westfield Research Group found that most consumers, 90% of their sample size, said that they were willing to pay a premium to purchase items that meet their environmentally sustainable criteria. This lays the groundwork of demand and shows us what customers are actually looking for in the market. Perceived greenwashing, and this can be as simple as a customer thinking that a company is participating in this practice, is shown to directly reflect on corporate performance. This identifies a critical motivator for companies to be more discreet in their marketing. Companies are categorized in two ways, green and brown. Green corporations follow through with their environmental corporate social responsibility policies and claims, and brown corporations show little to no sustainability effort. This need for discretion amongst unsustainable companies plays into agenda-setting theory, which essentially describes the concept of telling people what to think about and what's important rather than telling them what to think. It allows them to have that illusion of agency still. Most importantly, the scholars that inspired my own research method discuss the two most important elements of greenwashed media: message characteristics and consumer characteristics. Message characteristics include verbal elements and imagery in the text, and consumer characteristics categorize individuals by environmental involvement, concern, and knowledge. All of these concepts led me to my research question. What visual and textual techniques are brown corporations using in their social media posts that perpetuate greenwashing? I've selected 5 companies to conduct content analyses of: Starbucks, Nestle, Amazon, Michelin, and ExxonMobil. All of these companies have previous public greenwashing allegations and are known to engage in unsustainable practices. For example, in January of this year, U.S. nonprofit the National Consumers League filed a formal complaint against Starbucks in the Superior Court of the District of Columbia for false claims regarding the ethical acquisition of their tea and coffee products. Despite their claims of ethical sourcing, the NCL cited a number of findings of labor exploitation and gender-based violence on farms from which the company sources. These farms are certified under Starbucks' own verification standard, Coffee and Farmer Equity, or CAFE, and have been subject to national complaints about ethical treatment and practices, including a 2022 complaint from Brazilian labor prosecutors alleging abusive and unsafe working conditions at Starbucks' largest Brazilian supplier. This is just one example. To narrow my analysis, my sample took posts from the month of April, Earth Month, over the last 5 years in order to hopefully find a more concentrated sample of eco-related posts. My total sample size ended up being 298 Instagram posts. I selected 4 characteristics that are commonly found in greenwashed media across all platforms: pleasant nature images, recurrent language, color palette, and vague appeals, all of which I will show examples of as I discuss my analysis. Ultimately, I aimed to find the most frequently used characteristic, as well as the brand that used all 4 of these the most. Through my research, I found that vague appeals were most common across all 5 brand accounts. These are broad and poorly defined claims that can't easily be researched or proven, and here are some examples. First, we'll see a video of a farmer from one of Starbucks' Costa Rican suppliers. In the video, the man will make a number of vague claims regarding efficiency at the farm.
Here in Hacienda Alsacia, we are saving 4 times the amount of water We are saving more than 50% the amount of power, and then having double the coffee production here on the farm.
One interesting thing happening at the Starbucks coffee farm in Costa Rica is on a plot of coffee trees nicknamed El Paraíso. The branches are so thick with cherry farm manager Victor likes to say they look more like corn cobs than coffee trees.
Corn cob.
Victor is using techniques from soil management to pruning and seeing impressive results. Coffee is at a crossroads. There are more coffee drinkers than ever before, yet impacts from climate change can make it harder to grow.
We share with farmers what we are doing here, and then they can do the same in their farm.
The makeover story at the farm shows it's possible for sustainability and productivity to go hand in hand on coffee farms all over the world.
So he makes the claim that they're saving 4 times the amount of water. But compared to what? Claims of saving 50% of power, but there's nothing to compare this to, and there's no explanation as to how it's being done. Next is a post from Nestle that reads, more recycled materials. There is no background information here. We don't know if this is going from 0 to 1%, if it's going from 50% to 60%. There's no explanation, there's no proof. This brand relies heavily on aspirational verbs like driving, striving, innovating to communicate messages of action and steady improvement without any further explanation. And last is an image of one of Amazon's all-electric delivery vans set against a background of wind turbines depicting clean air and clean energy. The caption tells customers to click the link in their bio to read their climate pledge and see their plans for carbon neutrality, but fails to mention any other goals in the caption itself. The caption is actually directing viewers to leave the post entirely, go to the main account, click the link in the bio, and see for themselves what the company plans for the future. This encouraged redirection, which is not a spontaneous behavior that is commonly observed from viewers scrolling online, is yet another way that corporations are able to accentuate the highlights of their environmental CSR and strategically conceal the rest. Starbucks was found to use all 4 of the characteristics most egregiously. First, we can see the pleasant nature imagery in the background of this image. PNIs, as I refer to them, depict no turmoil and are aesthetically pleasing landscapes, as we can see the blooming trees in the back. And next, we see more of these vague appeals. The baristas are showing off really ambiguous claims, and they have just this long list of sustainability claims, but there's nothing to back it up. At one point, they mentioned air quality and temperature monitoring, and they're just standing in front of a thermostat, so that doesn't really tell us much. And lastly is both color palette and recurrent language. Seeing themes of helping the planet and sustainability against the earth tone graphic in the background. Overall, I found that both pleasant nature imagery and vague appeals were the most prominent across all 5 corporate accounts. Color palette didn't play as significant of a role as I thought it would. Each brand page had their own unique color story, and they incorporated the earth tones regularly. And then the thread of recurrent language mainly used were terms like recyclable, sustainable, and eco-friendly. Of course, with any study, there's going to be limitations. I believe that my data could be more refined and specific if I had a larger sample size and a longer period of time to study it. And as for the future of greenwashing, I think my own data lends itself greatly to qualitative research that could cover more ground and could reveal a little bit more about the problem as it relates to mass communication as a whole. This can include using the entire calendar year to observe post-concentration and topics within the content, how they're strategically placed through the year, and what the company is doing at the time that they're posting. I also think studying comments and audience reactions in conjunction with the elements that are included in the media would give some great insight to the effects that this has on consumers. Most importantly, it is evident that transparency is vital to the success of a company and the preservation of the earth. Increasing media literacy and understanding how this is infiltrating our lives is crucial to putting a stop to misleading marketing. I hope what I've done for you all tonight is provide you with some foundational tools that will help you recognize the greenwashing that you encounter in your day-to-day lives, as well as make you aware of your own consumption and the deception that lies beyond your screens. Thank you. Dr. Goma.
Thank you, Maddie. That was brilliant.
Thank you.
Fascinating.
Thank you.
Thank you. you chose 5 corporates. Why 5? I mean, why and how? You know what I mean?
Okay, so I said I was going to do 10.
Okay.
And then there came a point in the semester that I sat down with Dr. Esch and I was like, I don't think I can do 10. So I did research on some of the companies that I felt they had the most jarring stories with the marketing that they were disseminating and the messages that they were communicating to the public, that they're just not backing it up. So I felt that I could lay an okay foundation for further research if I just selected 5, but it was doable in the amount of time that I had.
What were the other 5? I'm really curious.
I didn't even get there. I didn't get there. I got to 5 and I was like, oh, okay, this is getting intense here. Yeah, thank you. Yes.
That was fabulous. Thanks so much. I'm wondering, this might seem so obvious, but who do they see as their audience for greenwashing? For instance, I know that I overuse Amazon, and I also know I have a disconnect because I understand it's the evil empire, but I still do it. But I'm just wondering, do people understand the greenwashing, but they want to just be able to have a disconnect, and so it sort of allows the space for us to be off the hook in some way?
Yeah, I think that cognitive dissonance plays a huge role in the way that we consume media. There is a part in my thesis that I do discuss who these companies are targeting with their greenwashing. Starbucks and Amazon were definitely targeting their consumer, whereas like Michelin and Exxon were targeting more corporate, like it was all business jargon, and they're talking about carbon neutrality more than they are, this is an electric vehicle and we're going to be using less packaging and less plastic. That's something that is easy to understand for us. So I think with the dissonance that we kind of cling onto because we don't want to face the facts and we don't want to go out of our way to go. Newport has a really amazing sustainable store. It's called The Refill. If anybody ever wants bulk products or sustainable products, they're amazing. And I just think it's so easy for us to, like, we're consumers. That's just, we live in a consumerist society. It's what we know, it's normal, it's easy. So they use different tactics and different messaging, but I think cognitive dissonance is really what is driving the problem. Any other questions? Kit, question? You gotta take the binky out of her mouth.